Okay, I just checked to make sure that my artwork fits my border, that there aren't going to be any areas that are going to be exposed to the white areas won't be exposed when we put it behind that cut out window. I'm going to set my artwork aside, and then you will need a blade. This is a bevel cut, and it just has a fancier cut. It exposes some of the whiteboard for the border, and it just looks a lot nicer. This is the next blade that you'll need from me. And again, inspect the blade, make sure it's not dull. I probably will do this before you even get to this point, and or before I give it to you. And if it does need to be changed out, let me know. I'm gonna remove my piece of cardboard here, and then I'm going to remove this piece of metal. Now, as I said before, this ruler, the 1 is over here, the 20 is up here, so it's running away from you. I'm gonna bring this down in the same direction. And there is another ruler that runs underneath here. Now this is to set your border measurement. So I'm gonna bring this L in, and you may not be able to see this, but just trust me, I'm setting it at 2.5. So here's 1, 2, 2.5, and screwing it in tight. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set my mat board in the mat cutter against our little shelf here, or little tray. And I'm going to set my bevel cut blade on the slider. So it should sit on here so it slides. Now, I just wanted to point out there's a red and there is a green line here. We're going to cut green to green. This mat cutter has a little light that sometimes shows up, sometimes does not. And I'm going to actually line up that green line that I showed you with this first line. Then I'm going to cut down, that green light turns on sometimes. And if you notice, I have my thumb at the bottom, my fingers on top, and I'm gonna pull towards me until I line that green line up with this line. It's important that you take the blade off when you're turning it. That is how the other blade got cut, or excuse me, got broken. I just want to make sure that this actually cut, and it did make a cut all the way through. If not, keep the measurements in the same place, put the blade back on the slider and cut again. I'm going to remove this up because we only have, I did my 2.5 cut first. We only have one side that's 2.5. I like to get that over with in the beginning so I don't forget. And I'm going to set this to 2 inches. Now I can make all of my other cuts. Put my blade back on the slider, line up the green with the next line, and the green light indicates good to go. And I'm going to slide it over to either where I see this line or where the cut is. Because if your measurement is a little off, you don't want to go past or too short of your cut. So again, I'm going to push this down, slide it over, and this one is much easier to cut. Again, I'm going to try and match up the line or the cut. So far we're doing pretty good. And my last cut. Now, we didn't have any, I have a little bit here. But if you have and I can actually twist this because it's not coming off and it'll come off. If you have the inside window stuck to the outside, don't ever pull it, especially away, because you're gonna get a rip in this black paper and it won't look very nice. You can cover up some small blemishes with a Sharpie, coloring it in with black. If you have any rough areas on your outside here, I wouldn't recommend doing it to the beveled edge because that is usually a nice clean cut. You can take this sandpaper and just run it along the side. Again, that's only if it's, you know, you have a rough cut, the blade was maybe getting a little dull. And then brush that off and you should be okay. I'm gonna set these aside. This is a little too small to mat with. Again, so I am going to recycle that. And I wanna double check before I do anything else that this fits very nicely. All right. And I don't see any of the white. It's not covering up much of my painting. So it is a win-win situation. I shouldn't actually say this is mine. This is one of the students. We're gonna finish up with putting a label here and putting a backing on next.